Hey, exciting news. Sony has just released a new 20mm f1.8, and I got photographer extraordinaire Ben Lowy here to talk about it. Ben, you got to use this thing for a little while now. What did you shoot with it?
I tried to do a diverse, range of things. So I took it out kayaking. I took it out, do long exposures. I did a bunch of street photography with it. So I kind of tried to play around with it to see what it would work, what would be good for, and to use it in all the kind of different genres I might find myself, shooting it.
20mm wide focal length, lends itself to variety because you can really almost shoot anything.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff you're looking for, like what were you looking for when you do street?
We can't shoot birds.
No.
Really, yeah.
Like the one thing.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're right next to one.
Right. Or something with that's really far away. It's tough to do that. You could shoot it and then you could tell people it's in there, somewhere back there. I kind of find a scene that I like, and I kind of sit there and shoot. No matter what anyone says, like when you find that shot, what you think is that shot, that composition, you'll just sit and take hundreds and hundreds of photos. And that's kind of a lot of what I do is like I'll see something, I'll sit there, I'll see the light, or I'll see like an arrangement of color, or I'll see, and I'll just sit, look at it, line everything up, and wait. And just let life happen. And I think when using the 20mm lens, it gives me this wider scene. And there's actually more that I have to pay attention to. And I think one of the things that's really good for street photography with the 20 is you can get really up close to people.
Sure.
You can stick it in people's face. That is not how I work. That's not how I tend to do it. I also think you have to be careful with it as a tall person shooting with a 20. You're more than likely kind of looking down and you get that warped perspective where I think kind of having it here gives you more of a flattened
is that where you tend to
kind
shoot?
of horizon line. With this lens, I found myself kind of coming this way a bit more just to kind of level off the horizon line instead of like looking down, because my subjects are almost always going to be shorter than me. Not necessarily you. I can see that we're it would be different, but most of the time, I'm kind of always shooting like that, and it does skew a lot of it. So I did find when I was kind of setting stuff up and I wanted to wait for all the things to be right, I'd just sit here and have it out and just be.
Absolutely, yeah. Your shots were really. I love the way you waited and found these beams of sunlight. It must have been early morning.
Whenever it was, yeah. No, so like the image of the skateboarder was actually in the evening. But so I'm like chasing that light and it just came coming through and there were these bunch of skateboarders jumping off the stairs and I was like, guys, can I shoot you? And they were like, as long as you Instagram us.
Of course.
Frames. I was like, sure.
That's the new currency,
yeah.
Instagram.
And so, I see that light and then I know just like, basically if you look at what the aperture blades are in here, what you get if you turn it up. So I probably shot that at, I don't know, f16, f11, we'd have to look at the EXIF data, but just to get that like, I find the light is awesome, like down by Wall Street, kind of like mid to late morning, and I'll just chase that, like, because there's parts of Manhattan like I never go to if I don't have a reason to go there, but it has the best canyons of light. Those buildings were all made organically. Right, so they weren't planned out. They
were not. Right,
and so you can get like in mid-morning, like just like one pool of light.
Oh, you can see it in your images. 100%.
And like people just walk through it.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the body here. This is smaller than the 24 Prime.
It is a little bit smaller than a 24.
Okay.
Weighs a little bit less, but if you have the 24 Prime, it kind of gives you an idea of what the lens is like. It's a 67 on the filter thread.
Got on the filter thread, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And minimum focusing distance is pretty impressive.
It's crazy.
Yeah, we were testing it just here. It was like 2 to 3 inches.
Yeah, it's that much. I think I photographed my son has his like top teeth missing. Because this is where I brought it into the studio. I set up lights, and when you're shooting that close with a wide, so I couldn't fill my backdrop, and then I was getting in the way of my own lights.
Oh,
so
because you were that wide.
Because I was that wide, so like my own head was casting a shadow on him. So I'm like, move a beauty dish up here, and I actually had to light it down below as well. You can see the catch light in his eyes because of course this lens will get everything. Right. And that's like one of the cool things about the lens, regardless of what you're shooting, it gets everything. Yeah.
And this is actually an f1.8.
Yep.
So really good shallow depth of field as well. And I saw one of them shots you had was the flowers were blurred out, and you had this backdrop, I think, in the Oculus.
Lens right on top of a florist, of flowers that were for sale in the center of the Oculus, focused on infinity on you know, someone walking on the
ledge there. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, but you know, at 1.8, the flowers just look like, you know, colored mush. I really love colored mush.
Colored mush is
It's like fruity pebbles after my kids leave them in the bowl for a day.
What can you say for people who may not be familiar with shooting on a wide focal length, especially a prime like this? I think a lot of people go to the zooms. They're more affordable, gives you more variety, but what can you say about shooting wide only?
I mean, I think, you know, obviously a zoom lens is good for versatility. When you're out and about, you're not sure what you're doing, you have like a lot of range. I think what primes in general teach you a little bit about discipline of shooting. Like, okay, I just want to shoot with this one lens, and how do I see the world with this one lens? When you switch to primes and you start backing up and using wider angles, it's all again about discipline and trying to figure out how you see, how you experience the world, and how you want to capture it.
One last thing on the body, it does have an iris ring, which not all Sony lenses have, but a lot of their primes do.
A lot of the primes do.
And you said you actually prefer using that as opposed to changing it in the camera.
Yeah, I do. I mean, the option is there, but for me it's easier just to know where it's at and just keep it that way. I do like changing it up there, and then I don't have to worry about dials. Like specifically if I'm on a boat, my hands might be wet, or like when I went kayaking for this shoot, it was about 30 degrees outside, so my hands are actually like cracked. You know,
much easier to pull an iris ring.
Just do that, and go like, instead of like trying to get my finger into there. All these things are, you know, for creatures of habit. You can get used to one way and get used to another way, and you know, so these are one of the great things about Sony in general, is that you can, you know, customize your camera to work the way you want it to, and it can be completely different than what someone else wants. But ultimately, it's all about helping you kind of represent how you see the world. And the 20 is just one more way to like kind of figure out what your vision is and see if that helps you encapsulate the world in the way you see it.
Ben Lowy, appreciate that.
All right, thank you.
Real exciting new lens, the 20mm f1.8G from Sony. This is Jake with B&H. Just keep rolling.